Stop approaching women. That's the end of the video. Thank you guys for watching. No, I'm just kidding. No, all right, seriously. So first off, I want to go ahead and start off with a discretion, okay? If you guys want to go ahead and check out the entirety of its video, I highly suggest you guys do so for extra context. I'm going to go ahead and link it down in the description below if you guys want to take a look at that first. But nonetheless, if you guys proceed forward, just know that I'm going to be talking about certain segments of this video. So I'm sure by now you guys already know about the video. You guys have seen it online, and just in case you guys haven't, here's a little snippet of it.
This is how to not approach girls at the gym.
Excuse me? You don't have to do that. It's okay. No, it's okay. I got it. Thank you, though.
So obviously I've cut a lot of it out. A lot of it is like not important. It's just her working out. And there's a lot of questions involving this video. A lot of questions that I have that I feel like nobody really talks about it. Mostly everybody's just castigating this woman, which, yeah, I think she deserves to be castigated for this entire event. And some of the questions that I have is, can we blame men for this entire situation? Are the emotions that this woman is experiencing valid? What were the intentions of this woman? But before we talk about if this is the fault of men, first off, I want to go ahead and talk about if her emotions are validated, because if you ask me, I feel like there is a lot of gray area. So first off, if you see the video, you can already tell that she's already kind of building this paranoia in her mind. So she's already creating this matrix, which is obviously going to influence her, how she behaves in the upcoming events. So obviously, as you guys can see, like the guy, he just ends up going to get a napkin, he sanitizes it, and then he's about to go wipe his station. But before he does that, he ends up approaching this woman without asking, lifting up the weight. So this is kind of like where I had a question, like, you know, is that appropriate for you to go up to this woman and pick up the weight without asking? I think that usually, like when we go to the gym, and I say we because I go as well, I think it's very important, especially depending on where you are. You want to go ahead and ask if it's okay for you to help them out. Obviously, there are times in the gym where like there will be a weight that probably falls on somebody. Then I believe that that is an appropriate time for you to rush over and help them out. I feel like in this situation, I feel like the man was wrong to go up to her and just put the weight in the thing. I know that that's like a gentleman thing to do, but nowadays no one's really a gentleman like that. I think that idea of being a gentleman is kind of just dissipating. It's no longer a part of the society. It also doesn't make her look good when she's making misandrous statements right after this entire event unfolded. There's struggling men in this society. And when men see that, they start to look at that and feel invalidated for experiencing what they're experiencing. And not to mention the fact that she's using this incendiary language like underage 21-year-old, which by the way, I'm probably gonna steal that. Like that sounds pretty clever and I'll probably use it in a joke, but nonetheless. And the consequence of this is definitely making men look a lot worse than what they really are. You know, we're constantly called pedophile. We can't be around kids. We can't be around women because we're considered creeps. We can't be around pretty much anybody because we're creeps like this. So I'm definitely not surprised that like men are coming out, and also women not only scoffing at this, but they are reprimanding you for using this kind of language and attempting to make a person look bad. Or I don't know if this is slander, but you definitely try to make them look bad. However, though, I do want to go ahead and dissect her emotional experience with this entire situation. Now, again, I am just speculating, okay? None of this is concrete, but I am just speculating on this. Because she ended up stating in a video that controversy sets you up for financial stability.
I wanted to talk about this Scar Girl from a creator's perspective, because I see a lot of comments of people being like, oh, it's real, oh, it's not real, oh, it's whatever. Either way, you guys understand, she's making money. She is literally making so much money. As a creator, controversy is probably one of the best things that can happen to you, other than your mental health being at cost. Whether or not she is faking this scar, she has financial stability. And that is something really, really nice to have in the content creator space.
So as you can see, this video went completely viral, and it's omnipresent in almost every corner of the internet. Kind of like how mosquitoes are omnipresent in almost every single part of the world, which I'm thinking about it and it makes me more mad than this video. So yes, she ended up getting her wish. So now I suspect that this entire controversy was probably for some views, because I know that she ended up responding to all of this situation. She was kind of talking about it. So it may seem that she probably did this entire stunt because she knew it was going to get a lot of views. She just didn't anticipate that it was going to get this many views. And if you don't believe me, she kind of said it herself. Most of my comments aren't serious, so please take them all with a grain of salt, since the gym video has blown up way bigger than I anticipated. So as you can see, that language right there took off more than you anticipated, because now it seems like you did it for views and you didn't want this entire video to be taken out of proportion. You just wanted it to be contained maybe within your own community. I obviously noticed my comments have become somewhat contradictory. I had stated that the video was for awareness and then said for entertainment. This was twisted into people thinking I made up the situation for entertainment. However, I meant the video was meant for awareness, but the comments I had made about being an underage 21-year-old, a TikTok inside joke, and about ripping his pee-pee off and natural selection were meant for entertainment, to be taken as a joke and not to be taken seriously. Now, I'll be honest with you guys, okay? I don't really know exactly what to think about this, because I haven't really gotten to this part and really thought about it, because there's other things that I was really thinking about and researching. So I'm gonna go ahead and just leave that one up to you guys. If you guys want to be upset about that, I totally understand as well. But if you want to go ahead and understand, take a chance and understand this girl, or maybe you're a woman and you relate to this, then by all means go ahead, leave it down in the comment section below. Maybe give your own perspective on this segment of the situation. So of course, she ended up apologizing many times, over and over. So you're probably asking yourself, what exactly did this do for her? Did this controversy benefit her, like she said in that one video about how she was gonna receive financial stability or whatever the case is? Well, now as you can take a look at this, you can see that she definitely ended up getting some new followers because of this. Of course, you want them to be subscribers, so I don't know how many subscribers she ended up getting off of this, but obviously, as you guys can see here, the numbers don't lie. She ended up receiving a couple of followers, a lot more than she usually receives. However, if you take a look at what she received on TikTok though, she ended up losing a couple of followers. As you guys can see, it's just 200. But honestly, I don't think that that's such a big deal, because in TikTok, all you need to do is just post one video that will just completely change that around. TikTok operates on making videos viral, so I'm sure that she'll get all that back. So sometimes women can take common moments like this and turn them into a woman experience, which is fine, you know, because definitely there are some creeps out there like this who just stand there and just watch you work out. And I've had that happen to me before. I've had, well, not to that degree to where they experience it as a woman, but I've had somebody stand next to me while I'm working out because they want the machine. It's kind of disturbing when you kind of have to like hint at the person like, hey, you know what, man, like I kind of don't want you here, you know? I know there's people out there who will say stuff like, well, why aren't you just straight up with them? Well, the thing is, you can't really be straight up with people, because in this country, people, I don't know in any other country, but I know in this country, you know, you speak your mind, somebody always has a rebuttal for it. And knowing how people are nowadays, being extremely sensitive, hey man, like, you know, you want to try to avoid that as much as possible. So oftentimes people just euphemistically hint at the person, hey man, like I kind of want my spot. However, I don't usually take that approach. What I do usually is just kind of get out of that situation. But I don't know how a woman can get out of that situation, because obviously for a woman, they experience it differently than I do. I could walk away and the guy probably won't follow me, but for a woman, probably the guy would follow her. However though, that isn't to say that there are times where women will create content like this and then inadvertently create a moment that has major repercussions. And of course, there's gonna be moments like this where, you know, they try to make something out of a situation when in reality there's nothing there.
Watch this guy try move to me at the gym. Checks absolutely nothing on his phone. Looks over at me being busy sorting my wrist straps. These fucking straps taking up too much time. Makes a swift return. Sad lip.
Like, my dude, that is the appropriate action, to ask a gym goer if they're using the machine. Just like in this situation here where like this woman didn't even ask this other gym goer if she was using the machine. Instead, she just tries to hop on. Which is fine. If you don't want to share it, then that's fine. I just hope that you were smiling when you did say that you were using that machine as well, because you don't want to set a you don't want to set tension in the atmosphere. You want to make sure that the environment is safe. You don't want to build problems with anybody. Maybe it would have been a better idea to just kind of work in and out of that machine with her. That way it's not a, I mean, you guys don't even have to talk to each other. You could go back to your other machine, work it out as well. I've had that situation with people before. We just work in and out. We don't even talk. I do my workout, they do their workout, and that's it, you know. But of course, again, you're entitled to that if you want. Just make sure you do it respectfully. I will say though that one of the things that does upset me about this kind of content is that this serves as ammunition for certain hate groups. Because believe it or not, man, hate groups love this kind of content because they can ramble and rant about this type of behavior, because they could take this content and showcase it to their already hateful audience. It just gives these men that are economically struggling, financially struggling, emotionally struggling, it just gives them more of a purpose to hate. And oftentimes, like, a lot of these men, they're not exactly educated. And I do want to go ahead and just go off a tangent a bit here. Our country isn't exactly doing all that well with male students, because a large portion of the male students aren't even going to college. They're not even educating themselves. So can you imagine that this very charismatic leader, very charismatic commentator, orator, if you will, he's just speaking to this entire audience, and nobody can dissect a statement philosophically because none of them were ever educated on this. I mean, the stats are there, you know. I'm just rounding off or estimating, but only 40% of men are going to college, and 60% of women, they're going to college. So can you imagine, like, a good portion, those 20%, that matters. Those numbers matter, especially when there's a nation with millions of men and women. I mean, that's a really large portion of young adults that aren't going to college. And those same adults that are not being educated, these are the same people that most times join hate groups because they don't know how to do research. They don't know how to break down a statement and dissect it to make sure that that statement makes logical sense. Oftentimes they're very reactionary and rely a lot on emotions, which, don't get me wrong, there are educated folks out there that really don't know how to socialize either. Like myself, I do know how to socialize, but nowadays it's just very sensitive, so I stay away from socializing with people. But we can't sit here and say that the people who go out there and don't exactly know how to socialize or don't know how to put together a sentence, it kind of ruins it for everybody else. Which, by the way, I'm not trying to say that it's their fault at all. I mean, we are in a system where it definitely favors women over men. And if you don't believe me that these systems benefit men, just go ahead and just type up man versus women and environment. You will see that women are just doing so much more better. They're performing so much more better in almost every area of life. Somewhere along the lines, we're messing up with men. And oftentimes when, you know, men aren't educated or don't have their financial life together or their economic life together, sometimes they'll result to crime. And again, I just want to go ahead and emphasize that this isn't all men, but when you are vulnerable economically, financially, and emotionally, you kind of turn to crime. And those who are usually violent and very vengeful and love to take revenge, oftentimes those are the individuals, the men that are rejected. They're rejected from society. So of course they want to fire back at society. They want to fire back at the people who rejected them. There's even a term that's strictly just for men. And this term is called aggrieved entitlement, which essentially means that men are defensive towards losing their identity and their country. And of course, that's just the essentials. There is an entire book dedicated to this type of archetype of men, and I'm quite interested in reading this book because I really want to see what this book's about. So yeah, a lot of this just has to do with rejection. And I mean, you can see it too in some of the criminals nowadays, some of the criminals that have quite infamous names like Elliot Rodger, Alec Manassian, Jacob Wagner, Mark Lepine. All of these people were rejects of society or feel rejected, at least in some way, because they tend to blame feminism, which, by the way, these are real misogynists. Every single one of these characters that I name, they did it all based off of the rejection of women. So those girls out there that are suggesting that men should go up to them and they'll decide whether they want to be with them or not by rejecting them, listen, man, that is a terrible idea, because I know there's women out there who love to push that idea that men should be the ones to go up to women.
Guys, it's time to man up. It's time to take control. You know, I think men are supposed to be the pursuers and women are supposed to be.
As a man who shows interest in a woman, it's on you to initiate things. At no point in time while you're trying to date me or get to know me should I be taking you out on a date.
See that girl over there? Go talk to her. Oh, what? You're too scared? Here are the 3 easiest ways to approach a girl. Number 1, I'm not interrupting anything, am I? This is such a great one. The last guy that used this on me got a no in response.
But I think that is a terrible idea. Like, when I hear them say that, I just think to myself, like, are you sure you want a man to go up to him? Because there is a possibility that you will get one of these men that are very angry at society. And when you reject them, they're probably most likely to be very reactionary. And when I say reactionary, that can stem anywhere from being angry to causing some sort of mayhem to ultimately probably pulling out a gun, fully automatic, and just unleashing upon the crowds. So whenever I hear women talk about like how men should approach, no, that is not a good idea. I personally think that men should not approach, at least not right now. I'm not trying to say that men should never approach. I'm saying that like right now, men are not in a good headspace and we should not be approaching, at least not right now. So I definitely have some final thoughts about this. Okay. So gym attires, I think, listen, man, if this entire thing is like a trend when it comes to these gym places, that women are just so tired of men approaching them, then listen, this isn't gonna solve the issue, but it probably will help. Gym attires, I think that gym attires should be something that should be mandated when it comes to the gym, because a lot of the stuff that men and women wear, it's very revealing. I mean, think about it. Even when you were in high school, they didn't allow you to wear any of the clothing that a lot of gym goers wear, because oftentimes that was deemed inappropriate, right? Now, of course, I'm not trying to say that we're teenagers in any way, of course. However, perhaps there is some sort of like this psychological trigger that whenever a man sees a woman in tight pants, I mean, there is some sort of chemical reaction that's going on in a male's brain that makes them want to go and approach a woman. Do I think that's bad? No, I don't think that's bad at all. I mean, if you really desire to approach a woman, then I think that's a good idea to approach her. However, again, I'm not trying to endorse that idea, at least not right now, because people are very, very sensitive right now. So I think there should be a dress code, definitely, because even women can understand this as well. When women see these men that are really big and like they're wearing very, very fitted clothes with like very thin, like gym attire, you can't help but want to like stare as well, you know? That's kind of like what men do. And honestly, like for myself too, like sometimes I don't want to stare at a woman. However, when they get up, I can't help but want to stare because the fucking pants is wedged up her ass. And I'm embarrassed to look. I really am embarrassed to look. I don't want people to see me looking at that, but I can't because it's distracting. It's there. Another thing that I wanted to talk about that I didn't really talk about earlier is that if you're going to talk about awareness, right? Because Jessica, the one who uploaded this video, she wanted to raise awareness, correct? For women and men. If you want to raise awareness, you want to make sure that you adhere to the principles that orbit the foundation of that concept. So what do I mean by that? I mean that if you really, really want men to stop approaching women, or you at least want to make an impact when it comes to that idea of men going up to women, then I think that you shouldn't sexualize yourself in certain ways. Because if you sexualize yourself in other forms, in other media, you're kind of putting that out there into the world. And when you put that out into the world, it's kind of like a boomerang. It's going to end up coming back to you in a different form. Kind of like that girl, Ava Majuri, who ended up selling selfies of herself to like boys, and then she ended up developing one stalker.
You sold him selfies showing off your smile, thinking that this would take care of the problem and he would go away.
I sold him 2 or 3 pictures of me smiling.
Ava says she blocked him on social media when he started relentlessly badgering her. He discovered where she lived, and to her horror, she says showed up at her house in Florida with a shotgun at 4:30 in the morning and fired through her front door.
Yeah, that stalker ended up getting shot in front of her house by the dad. And the thing is that she ended up having another stalker as well.
A 15-year-old TikToker from Collier County who made national headlines in the last year is asking for protection from another accused stalker.
The judge still ended up denying Majuri protection against her former classmate and friend, saying no direct threats were ever made. Ava probably won't be returning to school because she's still terrified of the teen. However, she will be returning to TikTok.
Like, what the fuck, yo? Like, dude, you just had 2 stalkers. You're still gonna stay on TikTok? Listen, I'm not saying that she should stay off TikTok, but at least produce content that doesn't produce these stalkers as much. Because believe it or not, she's still gonna end up having some stalker in the future, but it won't be as frequent as it is when she's posting dancing videos or like selling videos of herself or whatever the case is, or even showing off her body on TikTok. Last thing too, I think that this girl experiencing what she experienced in the gym, I don't think it should be completely discounted, because oftentimes women do experience these kind of real emotions of fear. So to completely just discount her and say that she's terrible, she's a terrible person for attempting to slander this person, first off, who are we to say that what she wasn't experiencing in the gym was real? I think it's important to understand that it's not just one side that's causing the problem. Maybe the guy shouldn't have been staring many times, because it can paranoid somebody, especially a woman. When a woman can't really defend herself against somebody as big as this guy, I mean, who are we to say that her emotions were invalid? However, again, I do want to emphasize that it's not okay for her to post that on TikTok and to slander this man for everyone to see. I think that's terrible, and I think that the message that she ended up sending with this video was so much more detrimental than she thought it was gonna be. And I want to go ahead and just talk about the real victim. This is gonna be the last thing. I just want to go ahead and just talk about the real victims in this entire situation. Okay, it's both men and women. Men, because now they are further painted as these creeps, and more of these men will continue to be angry, will no longer approach women, which again, I believe that you should not approach women anymore. I think going up to women is just a really bad idea, especially during these times when like everybody's so sensitive. I think that should definitely be a thing that every man should do, not go up to women anymore. And of course, the real victims of harassment, because now these victims, they see a video like this and they see how the people react when they don't believe the said victim. Because for all we know, maybe this person probably couldn't articulate herself all too well because of the overwhelming hate that she was receiving. So perhaps she was probably gaslit into thinking it was probably her fault, and so that's why she was like non-stop apologizing. I mean, we have to kind of think about the other side as well. We can't just completely dismiss her, because again, like, these are emotions that are felt by women. But overall, I do want to go ahead and just say that, listen, man, men should really just stop approaching overall, and women should definitely work on wardrobe that isn't too revealing, because it definitely sends messages to a man, and these men, they think they have like these chemical reactions in their brain that makes them want to go and talk to you. If you really don't want men to go up to you and talk to you, use loose attire. Whenever you're walking around, right, and you have like tight shorts on or tight pants on, and you wrap yourself around with a sweater, oftentimes men, they can't see anything. So what are they gonna look at? You know what I mean? So wearing loose clothing definitely helps. It won't stop men approaching you, but it definitely helps from the amount of times that a man frequently goes up to you. And yeah, this video is way too long. So yeah, anyways, yeah, that's all I got for you guys. And yeah, hopefully you guys learned something today.